I lived in my car for 3 months in the lowest point of my life. Long story short, I had to take on responsibility for all of my family's poor decisions and had to try and fix all the issues, which became really overwhelming for me and difficult because I basically had to do everything myself because my family is incapable of doing anything. So I was overloaded with stress and ended up having a full mental breakdown. I had to leave home because I needed the time and space away from them. So therefore, living in my car. To be honest, I haven't really told anyone about my actual experience living in the car, so you guys will be the first to hear. In this video, I break down on how I survived on very little expenses, where I parked my car overnight, and what it was actually like living in the car. So here we go. The first thing that I did for my car journey was grab a few blankets and pillows, packed all my essentials, and I just left. I just left the house without saying a word to anyone. And the next thing I did was brainstorm all the places that I could camp at, which really boiled down to a few places because it had to fit a certain criteria. It needed to minimally have access to bathrooms and free 24/7 parking. And then other bonus points would include access to the internet and some local shops for food. It was quite difficult to find all these factors in the same spot, but the locations ended up either being in a gym car park or near a library. The way I saw it was that if I could find a spot that had all these amenities nearby, then I could basically treat my car as a house and just a place to sleep for the night. Then during the day, I could just go out and walk to wherever I needed to go. The next thing I did was buy a portable fridge so I could store food. I got this 20-litre fridge from King's, which did the job, and I powered it through a 24-amp battery. I had an SUV, so that was helpful with having sufficient space to store it, but it still did get tight at times. And on that note, I always had to be near a library because I had to constantly be charging the battery for the fridge, which took hours to fully charge. So I spent a lot of time in the library, which was also a good thing because it was always warm with good HVAC systems in place, and it was always where I could have access to internet, do some work, and charge my other devices. But it was a limitation because I couldn't go anywhere else for more than 24 hours without needing to recharge the battery. When it came to food, I kept it super basic. Most of my meals were canned tuna, sardines, wheat bix and milk, roast chicken, and muesli bars. It was cheap, easy to store, and didn't require much prep. Sometimes I'd just buy cheap meals from the local shops as well, or I would heat things up at the gym because I have a microwave in the gym, or just eat food cold. Honestly, you kind of stop caring about those things when you're just trying to get by. And then when it came to hygiene, I just showered at the gyms. Don't tell anyone, but I actually found a gym card on the floor one day, and I was basically just getting free access to the gym. So I didn't have to pay anything and I could save some money there. I would also do my laundry at the gym as well, just hand washing clothes, and then I would hang them up in the car using the handles on the roof. And then when it came to sleeping at night, I bought these window curtains from Temu, and they actually did a really good job in providing you with like some privacy. It was like 10 bucks or something, and was really easy to use compared to like the other options they had out there. It was like a one-time setup, and you could clip the curtains to the frames above the seatbelts, which was pretty cool. And then all you had to do was open and close it for whenever you needed. I'd recommend them if anyone is looking to move into their car. And yeah, so that's the kind of logistics of how I was living and getting by. But the other part of this is the mental side of things. And this was also taking a big toll on me because some nights I would just think about how sad my situation was, but also to some extent I would also think about how lucky I was to be able to be surrounded by such good amenities around me, and that I still had a car I could go back to and use for shelter. Because I know in some places of the world, people are struggling way worse and don't have access to any of these amenities. So I guess in a way, I was still pretty lucky to be living in a well-built city. Some people might ask me, why don't you just move in with a friend? And the answer was because I didn't want to be a burden on them, and most of them didn't have the space. I also didn't want the pressure of any of them saying, so how long are you going to stay for? Because at the time I didn't know. And all I knew was that I wanted to get away from my family and have some time to heal. So I didn't bother asking anyone for help. But yeah, some nights were rough. Like I'd just be lying there in the back seat staring at the roof, and I'd be thinking to myself, is this really what my life has come to? The car life can get lonely, very, very lonely. And it's not even like that peaceful solitude either. It's the kind of loneliness where you start resenting the people who put you in this position. But then after a while, you kind of like mentally fatigue yourself of that resentment, and everything just kind of starts to feel numb and empty, and you feel stuck, just waiting for life to happen again. And this is all like starting to sound quite grim and sad, but that's just what it was realistically. One thing you do start to realize is that You don't really need much to survive, just food, shelter, and some clothes. That's it. I had enough to eat, somewhere to clean myself, and some space to myself. And you become grateful for the things you used to overlook, like a warm meal or a quiet place to sleep. Eventually though, I had to face the reality of living in my car. While it did serve its purpose, it wasn't sustainable long term, especially if I wanted to focus on building something again, because my work output wasn't great. Like I was tired and mentally foggy and constantly adjusting to stay afloat. So I made the decision to move back into the house, not because I wanted to, but because I had to optimize for productivity. It wasn't an easy choice, but sometimes you gotta sacrifice comfort in one area to make progress in another. So yeah, if you ever want to try living in your car, it's actually not that bad, but it's just not optimal. It's not the most glamorous and it's definitely not easy, but it can be a temporary solution if you do need it. If there's one thing you can take away from this, it's that it's important to know and set your boundaries when it comes to dealing with family issues. Although you do want to do your best to help out, when it gets to a point where it starts taking up all your time and effort, that's when you need to be cautious and be more strict with your time. The other lesson is to be more empathetic to everyone, because you never know what someone is going through and how bad their situation is. One time I was parked at a train station and I was just sitting at the back and just chilling with the windows down and just doing my work on my laptop, and someone parked next to me. They got out the car and saw everything that was in my car, and I could just tell by their faces that they were just judging me. A little bit embarrassing, but another lesson it taught me was to let go of my ego, because at the end of the day, I was simply doing what was necessary for me to stay afloat. Pride doesn't really matter when you're just trying to get through difficult times. So I stopped caring about appearances and what people thought of me. So that's all I have for you today. Hopefully you got something useful out of this. If you're on a similar path, stick around. We'll figure it out together. And if you feel behind in life, maybe this video here will help you. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.